Hi everyone, it's Joe from Homegrown Musician and welcome to the final episode in my mini-series on how to read basic music. So in the last few episodes we've looked at pitch, rhythm, meter and tempo, and in this episode we're going to use some basic little exercises to put them all together and actually read a piece of music. Now if you haven't watched those episodes, I'll link to them in the description below, and I highly advise that everybody does so that we're all on the same page. Now if you have, let's get started. So another important thing to mention is that all of these exercises are going to be for instruments in C, so like piano. However, if you're playing a B-flat trumpet or an E-flat saxophone, the pitches that you play won't necessarily match the pitches that you hear in the video, so just bear that in mind. The concepts will all work exactly the same, but it's just dependent on your instrument whether you'll actually hear the right pitch or not. Okay, so this is our first exercise. Now obviously, you've never seen this piece of music before, so the first thing to do is to mark out the things that we think are important. So the first things that I can see is it's in 4/4, so we have our meter. It's at 80 beats per minute, so we have our tempo, and there's no sharps or flats in the key signature, so we know we're in C major or A minor. But because we're starting on a C, we're probably in C major. So that's three really important pieces of information right off the bat. So another important thing to note is the flow of the melody. So we can see that it starts on a C before moving up to an E, so it's rising, so we already know which way we're going to move. Not only that, we can see the rhythm. So it starts with a minim, which is a longer note, followed by two crotchets, or more appropriately, it starts with a half note followed by two quarter notes. Now if we're using our food analogy from the rhythm video, we'd probably see this as a stretched out grape soda. So roughly, grape soda, something like that. So now that we've had a look through the key points of the exercise, the next step is to set a metronome off and give it a play. So I'm going to play through slowly first so everyone can have a listen to it, and then join in for the next time round where it'll actually be up to speed. So once we've played through, if you'd like another go, just rewind the video. So this is exercise 2. Now as you can see, it's still in C major, it's still in 4/4, and it's still at 80 beats per minute. So that's three really important pieces of information already covered, so that's great news. So the next thing to think about is the flow of the melody. So it starts on an F and we hold that for a minim or a half note. Then we go up to a G before going down to a D. And we do this in quavers or eighth notes, so the fastest part of the melody is a little bit quicker than the last one, and the overall flow of the melody is like a sort of hill. It starts here before going up and downwards. Now going back to the rhythm, if we want to use our food analogy, we could use, for the long note, food, just hold along food, and then for the shorter notes, we're going to use hot fudge sundae, because they're all the same length. So it'd be food, hot fudge sundae, food, hot fudge sundae. So that's our rhythm covered. Okay, and now for the last exercise. So I've kindly left it in C major, 4/4 and at 100 beats per minute. So that's three really important things and we've got them covered. So now to look at the shape of the melody. So in the last few exercises, we've actually been using what's called stepwise motion. So that's when the notes are next to each other on the keyboard, or it's the next note up or down on your instrument. However, I've purposefully changed this for the last exercise, so we're going to be doing a few small jumps. So in the first bar, we go from G down to E, down to C, which is a C major arpeggio, but we won't get into that in this episode. And then in the next bar, we go from an F to a D, down to a B. So the melodic shape overall is descending in jumps. So, as with the last two exercises, we're going to set a metronome off and give it a go. So I'll play through it slowly at first so you can hear what it's supposed to sound like, and then I'll play it up to speed and you can join in if you can. If you need to hear it again or have another go, just rewind the video. So like I said at the beginning of the video, we're now going to stitch these 3 exercises together and we're going to play a full piece of music which I've written called the First Steps March, as it's the first steps on your musical journey. It's really cheesy. Now as you can see, it's not exactly all 3 exercises stitched together because I've adapted them slightly so they'll make a bit more musical sense. Because remember, we're not just trying to play exercises, we're trying to play a piece of music. So the first bar is very clearly exercise 1 and the second bar is very clearly exercise 2. However, bar 4 is where it starts to change a little bit. So if we look at the quaver section, it actually goes back upwards instead of going downwards. So it goes in a little bit of a turn. So the melodic shape changes to lead more easily into exercise 3, which you can clearly see in bar 5. Then we play exercise 3 in full before coming back to a slightly adapted version of exercise 1. So as with the exercises, we're going to set a metronome off and I'm going to play through it. And remember, if you need another go, just rewind the video. So we've come to the end of the episode, and as a result we've come to the end of this mini-series, so hopefully by now you should have actually played your first piece of music, which is great. As I'm sure you could tell, we didn't use everything from the series in today's example, so there were no sharps and flats and there were no time signatures like 3/4. So the reason I did this was to keep it as simple as possible as opposed to throwing loads and loads and loads of information at you and confusing you. So if you like, I can make another example episode with different music to give you more practice, and please give me some feedback in the comment section so I know how to change my videos and make them as good as possible. And as always, please like, share and subscribe to help the channel grow.